Because he used to have casino.
I gotta tell you,
but he's not wrong. The whole world has become a casino.
Yeah, because he's making it a casino.
Well, he certainly has contributed, yes.
Contributed?
Well,
Bill,
you think Polymarket wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Donald Trump? I think it would anyway.
I'll tell you what, it would absolutely exist. Okay. And I want to know if there's any chance that you're not going to run, by the way, because I will put in a bet right now. Because that's the way the corruption works these days. It's right in your face. I don't want to see this soldier be the face of this problem. Of course, what he did is wrong. That's easy. You're making billion-dollar oil bets minutes before the president makes an announcement, and no one on the right says anything.
Today's clip features Chris Cuomo going head-to-head with Bill Maher on Maher's own show. The topic, Trump, ethics and government, and who gets held accountable and who doesn't. It gets pointed fast.
Yes, today, this was in the news. A soldier who was involved in the operation to get Maduro out of Venezuela, which was a success, by the way.
Yep.
Okay, we got to give success. Yep. Okay, he bet on it.
Yeah.
He won $400,000, and they asked Trump about it, and Trump said, "The whole world, unfortunately, has become somewhat of a casino."
No irony. No irony when he said it.
Because he used to have casino.
I gotta tell you,
but he's not wrong. The whole world has become a casino.
Yeah, because he's making it a casino.
Well, he certainly has contributed, yes.
Contributed?
Well,
Bill,
you think Polymarket wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Donald Trump? I think it would anyway.
I'll tell you what, it would absolutely exist. Okay. And I want to know if there's any chance that you're not going to run, by the way, because I will put in a bet right now. Because that's the way the corruption works these days. It's right in your face. I don't want to see this soldier be the face of this problem. Of course, what he did is wrong. That's easy. You're making billion-dollar oil bets minutes before the president makes an announcement, and no one on the right says anything except Anna Paulina Luna and 2 or 3 others who should all be heroized for this, in my opinion. The corruption is so in your face. Yes, what this cat did was wrong, okay? And he's going to suffer. But he should not be the face of the problem. And people in Congress who are yapping about him when they've said nothing about these other things are the worst. And when they're trading stocks and they won't even have a vote on the bill, they are the worst. They're the worst.
We could pass a law tomorrow. Congress could pass a law tomorrow doing what you did. Right. They could pass a law tomorrow preventing themselves from trading stocks. They're not doing it. They're not even bound by the employment discrimination laws that they've passed for everyone else. And we don't hold them accountable. We're just like, oh, I guess Congress just puts out press releases and holds hearings and we fight over gerrymandering. Like, put the pressure where it belongs, not on the courts of whether they're going to uphold or strike this down. That is a statutory question, which means it's up to Congress.
How many people, if you did a survey, would even know who the congressperson is? One guy applauded. I don't even know what, I don't know if it was I do or it was like, yeah, you're right, Bill. I don't know.
Well, their new approval rating is at 10%, and I would love to meet someone in the 10%. Who's like, yeah, they're crushing it out there.
It's them. It's them. It's who it is. It's them and the donors. You know, I mean, that's who it is.
Cuomo's argument wasn't really about the soldier. That was just the entry point. What he was actually getting at is how routine this kind of thing has become. Political insiders using access and information to make money, and nobody in power doing much about it. Prediction markets like Polymarket and CalSure have grown fast, and that growth has started making lawmakers nervous on both sides of the aisle. The concern is pretty straightforward. If you know something before the public does, you can bet on it and win big. Several bills were introduced in Congress this year, specifically aimed at stopping government officials and their families from placing bets on political or military outcomes. And Cuomo's frustration lands because the pattern is familiar. Congress members trade stocks in the very industries they're supposed to oversee. Lobbyists walk out of closed-door briefings and make moves. Wealthy insiders place bets that look suspiciously well-timed. Then everyone shrugs and calls it business as usual. What makes this particularly galling is that none of it is secret. There's no subtlety to it anymore. And Congress could actually do something. Polls show huge public support for banning congressional stock trading. But votes keep getting delayed or proposals get gutted before they go anywhere. Even some prediction market platforms are under pressure now to keep political insiders out, just because the optics have become so bad. This isn't a left versus right argument at this point. Ethics watchdogs, financial analysts, and lawmakers from both parties have all raised the same concern. When people with inside access can profit off that access, the system stops looking like governance and starts looking like something else.
A firing squad, they're dead in a second.
That's right.
What they do now is this chemical thing where they kind of just put you out. You know, it's the Nora Jones music
take
is
close
playing.
to it.
It's like a spot. Wait, really? And then half the time, the shit they put in you doesn't work.
It takes a really long time to put someone to death. We have people watching it.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Can I offer a different perspective?
Yes, please.
Just while we're all lining up to shoot people in the head.
I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, that's the way.
I think that there's an aspect of the death penalty that should matter, which is what is the social instruction? And I think that the reason they're doing this is that this administration is very embracing of brutality. He has a very misplaced sense of macho, this president. And, yeah, we're just going to shoot you in the head is some kind of attempt to be tough. And it's not tough. It's weak. And I think these kinds of instructions, you know, look, this is the same story for all of our families. My family came to this country because they thought it was a place that was going to be better, that it was beautiful for opportunity, where they would have a chance, where they wouldn't have to worry about the oppression they had at home. That's not what we are with these kinds of things. If you want the death penalty, fine. It doesn't work, okay? It doesn't deter crime.
Well, it deters that criminal.
It is, yeah, it does, but it gives an instruction that death is okay, that murder is okay, killing is okay. It's not murder technically, killing is okay. I think the social instruction matters. I think when you're saying, yeah, we'll just shoot you in the head, I think it cheapens something that should be the highest value.
Where are you on the death penalty? Where is it in Maryland, and where are you personally?
In Maryland, it's banned inside of Maryland. But I do think it is an important point, because when people are talking about the death penalty as an idea of a deterrence, the reality is it's not, right? There's no data that shows that this is a deterrence for how people are going to behave or how people are going to act. But it does create a bigger thing about how are we thinking about this value? How are we thinking about what it is that we hope for and what it is that we're aspiring to? And I think about it in context of this, right? When I first became the governor, we had an absolute violence crisis within our state. I mean, Baltimore City was averaging almost a homicide a day when I first became the governor. And I was very clear that we were going to have a different type of approach, that we made historic investments in local law enforcement. We made historic investments, and we made Maryland one of the only states that actually helps to fund the U.S. attorney out of balance sheet. So if a person commits a violent crime, particularly with a firearm, I'm going to have them handcuffed in 24 hours, and we're going to make sure that crime, especially if it is a firearm crime, we're going to help to make sure that goes federal. And if you look at the results, we've now seen how the violent crime rate in Maryland is down nearly 50%. It's the fastest drop in the entire country. The last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I wasn't born yet.
The stronger position in this death penalty debate is the one grounded in evidence, not instinct. Decades of research on capital punishment in the U.S. have not produced a clear case that executions reduce violent crime. Several states that abolished the death penalty show homicide rates comparable to or lower than states that still carry it out. What the data does suggest is that what actually moves the needle is how quickly and reliably someone gets caught, not how severe the sentence is. Baltimore fits this picture. The drop in violent crime there tracks more closely with targeted policing strategies and federal-local coordination on gun offenses than with any change in sentencing law. Criminologists who study this say the pattern holds broadly. Certainty of consequences tends to matter more than the nature of those consequences. There's also the downstream cost to consider. Tough sentencing approaches have a long history of political popularity and a mixed record on outcomes. Overcrowded prisons, ballooning corrections budgets, and lasting damage to over-policed communities are all part of the ledger. A lot of analysts across different political orientations have gradually shifted toward models built around prevention and rehabilitation rather than severity. And then there's the question of what the state signals when it picks up a firing squad. Whether or not execution is justifiable in principle, How it's carried out shapes how the public understands the justice system's purpose. Most democracies have moved away from public displays of state violence. There are reasons for that.
This week, Governor, Los Angeles became the first major school district to require screen time limits. We are? The first? Okay, they did another country. Australia did it, but I guess they're not here. What's your approach in Maryland? Yeah, where are you on screen time?
Well, I know we actually have legislation that's just works its way through Maryland that I will be signing that's actually going to do a ban-to-ban, a bell-to-bell ban on devices for our kids.
There's a school in Houston, by the way, that got a metal grinder, and if your kid is caught with any screen, their phone out during the school day at all, they put it ceremonially into the metal grinder, and it just goes in, and that's the end of your phone.
That's the end of your phone.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, and here's
that's
the thing.
A deterrence.
It is a deterrence. But our families and our teachers are going through enough right now. Right, we've had, especially post-COVID, we now have a teacher shortage that is vast, and we've been really focusing on getting more educators in the classroom, getting more men and more men of color inside of the classroom. We have cut the teacher vacancy rate in half in the state of Maryland, and a lot of them actually been, a lot of those federal workers have been fired. We started something called our Feds to Eds, which is actually saying if you're a federal worker who's been fired, if you're working for the NIH and you have a degree in physics, and you want to be a physics teacher, we're going to get you certified, we're going to get you qualified, we're going to get you in a classroom as quickly as possible. We've cut the teacher vacancy rate in half inside of the state of Maryland. I do not want our teachers fighting with Mark Zuckerberg for our kids' attention. And so I want to make sure that we're focusing, our kids are locked on task.
Any parent, okay? So I had kids in a great public school out where we live. Nothing has made a bigger difference than them pulling the phone. And if there was one fight that I could redo, that I totally blew. I mean, the list is long, but this one, if I could get this one back, I would have never given them the phone. I would have never given them the smartphone. Never. Not until they were 55 years of age.
This one actually aligns with what researchers have been saying for a while now. Screen time in schools isn't just a cultural debate. It's an academic performance problem. Large-scale data from the OECD and UNESCO shows that heavy smartphone use during school hours correlates with lower test scores, weaker reading comprehension, and less engagement in class. And this isn't gradual. Schools that go phone-free often see measurable improvements within a single school year, particularly in math and science. Child health organizations have raised similar concerns from a different angle. The American Academy of Pediatrics has flagged links between heavy adolescent smartphone use and higher rates of anxiety, disrupted sleep, and weaker face-to-face social skills. Those effects were already a concern before the pandemic. After it, with students already behind and socially strained, the stakes got higher. Teachers have been saying this for years. Surveys across multiple states consistently put phone-related distractions near the top of the list for lost classroom time. Not because students are being defiant, but because the attention economy is designed to win. Every notification competes with a lesson. That lost instruction time compounds over a semester. There's also a workforce dimension here that doesn't always make it into these conversations. Teacher shortages are a serious and ongoing problem, especially in STEM and special education. Research suggests that cutting classroom distractions actually helps with teacher retention. Because one of the biggest reasons educators leave is the grind of managing an environment that's constantly working against them. The case for phone restrictions isn't really about being anti-technology. It's about what the evidence says actually helps students learn and keeps teachers in classrooms.